what we're going to do is we're going to give you process skill related questions on even odd, and then we'll move on to the first 3 questions that you solved in this marathon here. Okay, now this is a question here. Just solve. So let me just so read the question, and I'm going to solve, and I'm going to give you a poll so that you can put in your answers there. Okay, and again, these are going to be much simpler. These are yeah, much simpler questions. And again, we're getting you warmed up now. All right, so almost everyone has selected. Let me broadcast the results. Everyone has selected choice B as the correct answer. And let me walk you through the solution real quick here. Okay, essentially, what the question is asking us is, what is the even odd nature of this expression where x, y, and z are integers? Now, whenever you see x, y, and z given as integers, you automatically need to map that in your mind as x, y, and z can be either negative or 0 or positive. Okay, this mapping needs to be done automatically in your mind. Okay, now the next thing that you have to do is you basically look at the expression and you start drawing inferences from it. Now 6x means 6 is an even number, right? Which means that it's even number times x plus 4y, another even number, times y, plus 2z, even number, times z, right? So that's how you are now processing it, right? And 1 is an odd number. So I'm simply relating all these back into their even odd nature, okay? So essentially, the first 3 terms over here will always be even because they are because in the product you have an even number, right? So, and then when you combine them, they are even. So even plus odd is odd. So the answer over here is odd. So essentially what we are doing is throughout the solution over here, once we read the question, we understand it, we then start to draw inferences bit by bit, right? You don't take a look at the entire expression in one go. You look at it bit by bit and you start to apply your conceptual understanding to draw inferences and then move along. Okay, so no big deal with this question, relatively straightforward. It shows the impact of inference at a very, very rudimentary level. Okay, all right, so now let's move on to our next question here. Question number 2, again 3 choices. Let's reopen, go ahead and solve this question. All right, I'm going to broadcast the results now. End the poll. Almost everyone got this question correct. There were a couple of you who didn't select the correct response here. Let's go through it again. Again, same drill. If m is an even integer and n is an odd integer, so that information is given to you, and we need to figure out what is the even odd nature of this expression. So we again take a look at this expression, and applying the information that has been given to us in the question statement, we start to now allocate the even odd nature of each of the terms in this expression, right? M is even, we write even under it. N is odd, odd. 1 is odd, we write down odd there, right? And so on and so forth. And now we start to apply the operations on this expression. Odd plus odd is even plus even is even, and then we basically get even plus even, which is even. So the correct answer over here is choice A. So again, we applied the information in the question and the conceptual knowledge that 1 is odd and 2 is even, and we drew inferences to arrive at the final answer. Okay. All right, so the correct answer is choice A. Now, for those of you who selected choices B or C, where did you falter? Because that is the key part over here. Understanding which of the inferences did you not apply. So 12 of you who didn't select choice A, actually there were 2 of you who didn't make any selection. Harit, okay, odd plus odd times even, that's where you made a mistake, okay. Missed to evaluate m plus 2, okay. So do you see that you made a mistake in this question, not because you didn't know the concept, but because you didn't apply the process skill of inference. Okay, you didn't go through the question statement, you didn't follow along the process of inferring information bit by bit. That is why you faltered over here. Now this is a very easy question, right? Now imagine if there is a complicated expression which requires you to do this kind of processing. Imagine if this is just one of the 5 steps that you have to do in order to get to the correct answer. So if you start to falter at these basic steps, you will definitely falter when you have to apply this step as a part of 5 or 7 steps for the final solution. Okay, and that is why mastering these process skills is very, very important. Okay, all right, so now let's move on to question number 3 over here. Let's get all of you to click on still solving, please. Let's get back to that drill, still solving. Okay, and as you solve these questions, I want to make sure that this point is clear. Some of you will find these questions easy, and the whole point of this, these are easy questions, that goes without saying. But I want you to focus on breaking down the solution into smaller steps, and I want you to be more conscious about what is it that you are doing in order to get to the solution of these easy questions. Because once you master these easy questions, you will be able to then take this to the next step and solve those 700 level questions with utmost ease and under the time pressure of the GMAT timed exam. Okay, all right, so here you go, solve this. All right. Okay. So what's happening over here? M to the power 0 is what? And let me do this over here. Sorry. Just one second. Okay, so what do you see over here? M to the power 0 is what? 1. So that's an odd number. Plus n to the power 1. So essentially power doesn't change the even odd nature of the numbers, right? So what do you see over here? You see, so we can write this down as m plus n plus m plus n plus m, right? But over here you have n to the power 0. Now what is n to the power 0? It's 1 always, right? So now 1 is an odd number. What is n? N is an odd number. What is m? M is an even integer. N is what? Odd again, and m is even, right? So you have two evens over here, which is even. Even plus even is even. And then you have three odds, which is odd, right? So odd plus even is odd, right? So the correct answer over here is choice B. Now tell me, people who selected choice A, what did you do? What did you do incorrectly over here? Hit and trial, m to the power 0. So what you did over here was what we have shown over here on this slide. This is what you did. You blindly applied the power, doesn't change the even odd nature, and you blindly applied that over here, m to the power 0. You took that as m, right? And that's where you made a mistake. Right? And you ended up selecting choice A as the correct answer. This is absolutely wrong. Right? So it's very important as you are applying your concepts, you have to be very cognizant of these edge cases. M to the power 0 is always 1. Right? So you need to have that conceptual clarity whenever you are applying these concepts. And especially in the timed environment, you may be so hard pressed to get to the answer that you may miss out on this very, very critical step. Okay, so what's the learning here? What's your learning here? And quite a few of you, 25 of you did that. Take nothing for granted, apply the right concepts, keep in mind edge cases. Now again, when I say edge cases, they are not truly exceptions, but they just imply that you need to have that razor sharp understanding of your concepts and applying them correctly, right? You need to draw the appropriate inferences. Okay, so yeah. All right, now let's move on to our next question over here, and I'm going to first remove. Yeah, go ahead and click on still solving. Okay, here's the question. All right, I'm going to end the poll now. Okay, so let's solve this one together. If n square plus 4n plus 1 is odd, then what is the even odd nature of n? That's what we need to figure out. Now again, we do it step by step, right? We see that, okay, 1 is odd, right? So that's odd. Then we see, okay, n square. Now you have to do manipulation here to basically get all the n's on one side, right? So n square plus 4n, you move the odd over here. You get n square plus 4n is equal to odd minus odd, which is nothing but even, right? Now this 4n is always going to be even, so what you get is n square is equal to even minus even, which is also even, which means that n is definitely even. Now for those of you who selected that n is odd, or that the even odd nature cannot be determined, where did you falter? Again, these are all you need to draw those multiple inferences step by step by applying your conceptual understanding. Everyone knows what's an odd number, everyone knows what's an even number, right? Everyone knows the impact of the operations on the even odd numbers. Hurriedly press B instead of A. Okay, that's fine. N is negative. No, we are not saying that N is negative. All we are saying, we are just doing the processing. We are just seeing the impact of the operations on even odd numbers. That's what we are trying to do. Okay, how did we get odd minus odd on the right? Okay, all we are doing is we are moving as many terms towards the right hand side as possible so that we can figure out the even odd nature. Now, whenever you subtract or add two odd numbers, you get an even number, right? So if you are asking that question, that's an indication that that you don't have that clarity of conceptual understanding when it comes to the impact of operations on even odd numbers. Because if you're not able to apply these inferences properly, that means you don't really have, you need to build upon this process skill of inferring based on your conceptual understanding. Okay? All right. Okay. Then is it better to do trial and error? No, it's not better to do trial and error, right? Again, over here, there is no, I mean, you can, again, when you say trial and error, it means, I'm guessing you are saying that maybe put in numbers and then see. I usually recommend that approach only for some specific types of questions, and this is not one of those questions. Okay, again, over here, it's simple drawing inferences based on your conceptual understanding. And those of you who are not able to get it, that's an indication that you need to work on this process skill. Okay, so again, that is something which I want you to take from this. Okay. How is 4n even? 4n is even because when you multiply an even number with any number, whether it's even or odd, the answer is always even. Okay, so again, for those of you who are asking me to explain again, and for those of you who are asking me how I got odd and odd on one side and those things, that again, I can go into those details, but frankly, this is more of a diagnostic type of a session wherein I'm telling you where you need to work on, what is it that you need to do in order to get to that next level. So I want you to take that feedback from this session and then work on it. Okay, does that make sense? Yes or no? Does that make sense? Yes or no? Because if we understand what the intent of this session is, then we can, proceed further without really causing any delays. Okay. All right. So now let's move on to question number 5. 3 choices again. Can you please click on still solving? Okay, last 5 seconds. All right, I'm going to broadcast the results. Now, what is given over here? If a plus b is even, what is the remainder when a to the power 7 minus b to the power 5 is divided by 2? Now, this is where we need to apply our translate process skill. Okay. Now, when we have been asked what is the remainder when this term, and this term has these powers associated with it, is divided by 2, the simple thing over here is whenever it's division by 2, we know that, okay, we are dealing with even or odd numbers. So if this term a to the power 7 minus b to the power 5 is even, then the remainder is going to be 0. If it's not even, then the remainder is going to be 1. Right? So essentially that's what the question is asking. What we need to figure out is a to the power 7 minus b to the power 5 even, in very simplistic terms. So again, this is where you apply the process skill of translate, and instead of dealing with this language in the question, you have now converted that language into something which is more actionable, right? It's a lot easier for you to figure out the even odd nature of this term. Right? Now you start to draw inferences. Power does not change the even odd nature, right? So essentially what you need to figure out is a minus b even? That's about it. Now what's given to you is that a plus b is even. Now if a plus b is even, then a minus b is also even, which means that the remainder is 0. So choice A is the correct answer. Okay. So now for those of you who selected choice C or who could not make a selection, where did you falter? And again, these are the learnings that I want you guys to go with, right? People who are doing these questions correct, I want you to focus on where you could have made a mistake, right? So again, it's very important to understand where is it that people who are faltering, because we can learn a lot from what our group is doing. Couldn't simplify the question. So people who are saying that they couldn't simplify the question, it means that you were not able to translate. So that is something which you need to work on. You need to work on the process skill of translation. Okay. For those of you who could not convert a to the power 7 into this part, you need to work on your inference process skill. Okay. That is what you need to work on. I mean, from the standpoint of concepts, you know the concept, but you are not able to apply those concepts, and that is where you need to work on. You need to work on how is it that you draw these inferences. Okay, I didn't know the remainder of even was 0, so which means that you don't know the concept well enough for you to be able to draw these inferences. So again, one thing is very important for you to understand that, and again, these are all good points, and thank you for actually bringing those up and being so upfront with it, because that just tells everybody what is the level of clarity of concepts that you need, and these process skills help you gauge that clarity and help you figure out whether you have that clarity or not, right? When I asked you upfront how many of you are 80% are at least 80% confident with your conceptual knowledge, 85% of the class said that yes, they were more than 80% confident, right? But now over here, you're seeing that yes, you know what even odd numbers are, but you're not really that much confident that you can confidently draw inferences from that information, right? Which means that you need to work on building your process skills. Now, how do you do that? You do that by going through a course step by step and building upon that conceptual knowledge. Okay? Any revelations so far? This is the 5th process skill question. Any revelations so far? What have you taken away? Oh, that was pretty blunt. No revelations. Quant is not easy. Well, quant is easy if you understand what is it that you need to work on. Okay, if you right now, what happens is students deal with quant either on conceptual basis, that okay, these are the formulas that I have to learn, or they work on solving, practicing, not really wondering, okay, what is it that I'm practicing towards, right? And that the process skills is that gap, and that's the gap that you need to work on. Okay. When are we solving the questions asked earlier? After we solve these 20 process skill questions. Well, we'll solve about 9 process skill questions, I believe, for in this third. Yeah, so after a few more questions, we'll solve three of the questions that you solved earlier. The concepts are taught very simplified, yes, Problem solving is easy, data sufficiency is hard. Well, over here we are not even dealing with problem solving or data sufficiency. What we are dealing with is just how do you take information and how do you start to process that information step by step. Okay, all right. Now let's move on to question number 6. Here you go. Go ahead and click on still solving. Okay, I apologize. I should have given you 5 answer choices. Sorry about that. Let me do this. Let me give you a poll with 5 choices. Yes, go ahead and start putting your responses here. Thank you for pointing that out. All right, I'm going to end the poll now. Good. So I can see that a number of you got to the correct answer. Let's go through the solution step by step and just make sure that everyone got it correct for the right reasons. So P, Q, and R are consecutive positive integers. Now, as soon as you see that, in your mind you need to, or in your scratch pad, you need to write down that P, Q, and R are each is greater than 0. Okay, that's very important. Consecutive. So again, they cannot be 0 because they are positive integers here. Okay, so consecutive positive integers, then which of the following expression must be even? Okay, so what we have to do over here is we simply we take up because they are consecutive, there could be 2 cases over here. One could be that P could be even, and which means Q will be odd and then R would be even, right? And let me get a poll here to make sure that you're following along as I'm going through this step by step. Does this make sense? Case 1 is if P is even, then Q is odd and R is even. Why? Because they're consecutive. What is case 2? Case 2 is that P is odd, Q is even, and R is odd. How many of you considered both these cases? How many of you considered both the cases? Good. That is very, very important. And this brings up another process skill, which I talked about, considering all cases. Okay. Now what we do is, for each of the expressions, we take up each case one by one and we figure out what's the even odd nature of this expression. Okay. So even odd plus, okay, so I'm doing that processing over here. I won't go into the details of that. So again, it could be either even or odd depending upon whether P is even or P is odd. Okay, now case number 2, expression number 2, I do similar processing. In both the cases, I get that the expression will be odd. Case number 3, I do similar processing. In both the cases, I get that the expression must be even, which means that the correct answer over here is choice A, which is what a majority of you selected. About 80% of the class selected that. Okay, now tell me, for those of you who faltered, and there were about how many students who faltered here? Let's see, 15, 15, 16, 18, 21, 23 to 22 students. Where did you falter? What step did you make a mistake in? So again, all we are doing is we are drawing the inferences, and we need to consider the cases. So missed out case number 2, which means that you didn't apply the process skill of consider all cases. Okay, very, very important. So I want you to take that feedback. Did not consider all cases. Good. So again, it's okay to make those mistakes right now. But now, what I want you guys to realize is that in the past, in the absence of knowledge of these process skills, you would have simply thought that, I didn't consider this case. How many of you would have simply disregarded your mistake in this question, thinking, I just forgot to consider that case? And that is a very, very bad thing to do, because that, I missed out on this, would have actually is a very, very expensive mistake when it comes to solving questions on the GMAT, given that GMAT is an adaptive test. Okay, so again, that is the attitude which I want you to change. I want you to start attributing each and every mistake that you do. I want you to start putting a cause behind it. And that cause should never be, I made a silly mistake. Okay, I want you to write that down on your board or on your paper right now, so that you see that all the time. Okay.